Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode in the series in which we celebrate the extraordinary Diana Ross. And today I wanted to be a little bit more specific because this is a Diana Ross channel. Let's not kid ourselves. So I wanted to talk about her very special collaboration with the one and only Bob Mackie, the extraordinary fashion designer, American fashion designer, and my favorite fashion designer in the whole world. I am, as some of you may know, I majored in fashion design, just like Diana Ross or Tracy and Mahogany, and being French, because I've been living in France for 40 years, I have four gods of fashion, and my two favorites are American: Bob Mackie and Halston, and probably because they're the most stage artists that there are. You know, they really design for the light, they design for the stage, they design for the stars, and it's really something I absolutely adore. Now, my two favorite French designers are Thierry Mugler. I worked for him for 20 years, but I'm not biased. It truly is because he is a genius. But also when you look at his work and you look at Bob Mackie's work, very, very similar things. And he also designs for the stage. And my other favorite designer in the world is Yves Saint Laurent, the original Yves Saint Laurent, because he really invented so much. And I used to own a Bob Mackie gown, which I gave to a wonderful actress that I worked with in a movie, and so I thought she should have it and wear it. It was in my closet. But I do have a Halston piece, and I really, really love it. It's a pair of pants that belong to Regine, the famous singer but also nightclub owner, the Regine's Club, and she made an estate sale, and I was able to get these pants. So they're Halston. They don't have a tag, but they are Halston, and it's what we call the rain beads, which are my favorite. Diana Ross has worn so much of these rain beads, and she has worn a little bit of Halston too, but you know that Halston is very much affiliated to Liza, so Diana Ross, you know, always wants to be exclusive. Now with Bob Mackie, she began her collaboration with him very early on, ever since the Supremes. Now, here's the first excerpt I'm going to show you. Diana Ross at the Hollywood Palace, Diana Ross and the Supremes. She looks absolutely stunning in that little short afro. She's beginning to be modern, and also you'll notice there are three different tones to the gowns because she's slowly moving away from the exact outfits that the Supremes always wore historically. This is just to show you how close it is to the Cher gowns that we're so familiar with and that are, you know, so famous. So let's go with Diana Ross at the Hollywood Palace. She's so gorgeous. I hope they don't cut the sound, but that's YouTube.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here is your hostess, Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Light the candles, get the ice out, roll the rug up, it's today. Though it may not be anyone's birthday, and though it's far from the first of the year, I know that this very minute has history in it. We're here. It's a time for making merry, and so I'm for making hay.
What an incredible voice Diana Ross has. She's so powerful. She's so cute. Now you notice the tones of the other gowns darker. They're not less pretty, they're absolutely beautiful, but they're different. Diana Ross is kind of, becoming a little bit more of a solo artist. Now, this was suggested by Bob Mackie to Diana Ross because he was saying to her, these gowns are so expensive. If we do that, you'll be able to wear them once you're a solo artist, when you do concerts or venues where you'll be less exposed. People won't say, oh, that's an old Supremes gown. Now, this did not occur. Diana Ross gave absolutely every single one, except one, I think, a gown to the Supremes. Now, I have a friend who told me one day, I loved that, because I said, how did that work? Diana Ross was so tiny. She was minuscule. And so he said, Mary Wilson squeezed into the Diana Ross gowns, and Jean Terrell super squeezed into the Mary Wilson gowns, which were a little bit bigger. But Mary Wilson was tiny as well, but she was a little bit more full-figured than Diana Ross. But so she was so small that she could fit into the Diana Ross gowns. It's quite ironic, knowing the rapport that Diana Ross and Mary Wilson had, but she got into those gowns. So Diana Ross, I think that's what's admirable about the star that she is. She gave everything. She gave every chance to the Supremes. She just left, gave them everything. She could have really taken each one, of her gowns, and that would have just ruined it with, for the Supremes. The Supremes wore all of the old Supremes gowns for quite a long time. During Jean Terrell's run, you really see them wearing the old stuff from Diana Ross and the Supremes. So that was quite amazing of Diana Ross. Now, second clip I want to show you is Diana Ross in the song Like Hep with Dinah Shore and Lucille Ball, and she's wearing a gorgeous little jumpsuit, a white and black jumpsuit. And the reason why I want to show you this is just to show you how Diana Ross always returns to her style, to her to everything. It's like something historic. She really builds a legend. So I'm going to show you that little outfit, and then I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you the return to love, which there wasn't much love. Well, there was quite a bit of love in this reunion, but the real Supremes reunion never made it. But Diana Ross is having a lot of fun with these two ladies of the Supremes. Now, isn't that cute? It's the exact same jumpsuit, everything down to the beading, everything, the legs, everything. It's just the color. She had it done in pink. Now, this is an idea of Bob Mackie and of Diana Ross. So this is all of the Return to Love reunion. All of the costumes were designed by Bob Mackie, and this was a real return because she hadn't worn Bob Mackie clothes in a long time. Now, after a while, what happened once Diana Ross did her show in Las Vegas, the shows of shows in the white outfit, she collaborated much more with Ray Agayan, which is Bob Mackie's longtime partner, and I've told you this before, he's from Iran, so he's Middle Eastern, Oriental, like me, so he loves beads upon beads upon beads. Bob Mackie if you ever see some Bob Mackie clothes up close, you'll be surprised by how little beating there is. They're just so spectacular on the stage, but they're light. That's the one thing that comes to your mind. Everything is very, very light. There's only one French artist who's ever worn Bob Mackie because it's so expensive. It's Sylvie Vartan, but she was one hell of a looker in her time in the 70s, and she wore Bob Mackie beautifully, and she was blonde. She's from Bulgaria, so she was, an icy blonde, very, very different from Cher, very different from Diana Ross, and Margaret, different from all of these women, and she really looked amazing. Which brings me to this infamous gown, which I absolutely adore. It's my favorite gown. But there's been a lot of talk about this gown because of the print, because of what it is. Now it's beaded. It looks absolutely stunning. It's one of my favorite gowns, but it's designed by Bob Mackie. Did he mean anything by that? But more importantly, Diana Ross wears this with pride, with fun, with intelligence, and she's not afraid. And isn't this the way to go about something that can be taken as racist or that it's been attached to any type of prejudice, and just wear it proudly with fun? And then you have to remember that gown is around $15,000 to $20,000. So if you can afford it, God damn it, wear it. Here's Diana Ross hosting the Midnight Special, and she's absolutely gorgeous.
And so am I. I want to thank all my guests for being my guests. First of all, Jermaine Jackson, the Commodore, Tata Vega, and to you for being there when we need you most. I hope to see you again. Let's do this again sometimes. Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time.
Now, what's very important to remember about this gown, more than anything else, is you can see her entire body. You can see between her legs and you can see her arm. Now, this is something which I learned when I was working with Thierry Mugler, which is the fact that Diana Ross, Cher, and many, many stars who have worked with Bob Mackie take out the lining of their gowns. Now, when they buy them, they are actually lined because that holds the gown and it makes it stronger. It makes it more resistant, especially when you dance or whatever. But when there's no lining, look what happens. The light goes right through. The gown becomes just almost a part of you. It's diaphanous. It's just absolutely magical. And it is the first thing that I learned when I began to go on stage, is to rip out the linings of some of the gowns that I would buy in thrift shops that had this kind of beading. Some of them were pretty expensive. I have a gown that is owned by Patti LaBelle. It's in one of my shorts. But if you take out the lining, you still see the beading, but you can see the legs. And it becomes very, very, very attracted to the light. I want to show you one last excerpt, which is Diana Ross in the television show called An Evening with Diana Ross, the very first 90-minute special for a woman on television. And it was also called Here I Am in other places, like in Canada, where I first saw it. Now, this is 1977 or 79, I can't remember. But this is the very moment when I just, something happened to me. I knew about Diana Ross. I've been a fan of Diana Ross since I'm 9 years old. So this was in 1974. And my best friend loved her, and we used to, talk about her, but it wasn't clear in my mind who she was. But this is, when this show was on, he and I were both on our phones, with the cord. I had the cord all the way from the kitchen all the way to the television set in the living room, and we were just, waiting for her to appear. And when these tassels appeared at both wrists, something in my head, I went, how is it that every single gown doesn't have two tassels at the bottom of each wrist? It just became something so obvious because it was so fabulous and so extraordinary. And the way she wears this, now the entire show Bob Mackie designed, but he was working with Ray Agayan. It's got his name on some of the drawings. So here's her appearance, and then I want to show you another part, because this is where they see the humor of Diana Ross, the fun of Diana Ross. Here she is.
I'm certain of, here I wouldn't change a thing if I had to live my life all over. I wouldn't change a thing if I had to live my life all over. I lived a life that's full. Many times I had to pull my way to the top, never knowing where I'm gonna stop. I made my mistakes, but Lord, what I've learned, it led me straight to you there, and that's my only concern. I wouldn't change a thing if I had to live my life all over.
Now, to me, the ultimate beauty of Diana Ross, just absolutely exquisite. This was the show where she also appeared as Bessie Smith, Billie Holiday, Ethel Waters, and Josephine Baker, with this incredible makeup that she had on. And this is also the show where she premiered the blue gown in this beading, except so this is the lines, and the other one is the squiggly lines. I don't know how they call that, but it's a different type of beading, but it's the same type, almost the same colors. And that gown, which she still wears today, believe it or not, she still wears it today. I just want to finish with one thing. This show appeared twice on television, 2 nights. This is how it was back in the day when I was a little boy. And so Diana Ross, I saw the first show, and I was just absolutely, I don't even know what I was looking. This was also the time when I realized she was a Supreme, because when she has her whole excerpt on the Supremes, I was, okay, so she was a Supreme. I knew nothing. When we were kids and we didn't have internet and anything. And the second night it was on, my father was home because my father used to work nights at that time, but he was home that night. And when we saw the show again, he turned around, and I know that he was looking at me, and that he knew that something special was happening between me and what was on the screen. And he said to me, "Your star," and I remember that phrase because it was the first time somebody said to me, "Your star," not just the star or Diana Ross, but she was my star. And so he said to me, "She follows the rule of the circus and not the rule of show business." And I didn't know what that meant. And so my father said to me, "What's the rule of show business? Do you know?" And, he knew I always wanted to be an artist. And so he said, "Well, the rule of show business is the show must go on." So that used to go for, vaudeville, and a time when people used to shoot artists, or there was a fire, and, you couldn't stop the show. But with television and with the new medium, it's not that relevant anymore. But the law of the circus, which Diana Ross follows, is make it look easy. And I remember saying, I don't understand, why would she want to make people think that what she's doing is easy? Because surely, she's a star, and everybody, she's up there and she's admirable and everybody loves her. So, and he said to me, by giving you the impression that what she's doing is just having fun and not worrying about the lights and the gown that's so heavy and the cord of the microphone and looking here and looking there, she makes you think that it's easy, and therefore you want to be on stage with her, or you want to be on stage. And that's what's happening. And he made me notice the audience that gets up the minute she starts singing, because they just think, I can do that. And it's something that stayed with me all my life. And that is what is so, if I could describe Diana Ross, in that one phrase, she makes it look easy. She never says that she suffers, that she's in pain. I was even surprised one day in an interview when she said that some of her dresses, the zips broke when she was on stage. That can't happen to Diana Ross. Her gowns are always perfect. Nothing ever happens. But that's the magic, is that she never complains, and she never, shows that sometimes it's difficult. Maybe people are screaming in the audience. Her concentration is being tested. None of that. She makes it look easy. So with that, I hope this video wasn't too long. And so I want to thank you all very much for being part of this channel, for all your kindness, and for just being part of this channel. It's so much fun, and I really, really enjoy it more and more. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week. And I'll be in Canada next week because I'm leaving on Thursday. Bye-bye.